Hello, Savage Gentlemen. Welcome to, I guess it'll be the end of day 6 of the Savage at 6. So we're coming up to 1 week. And trust me when I say that this is really going to fly by. You're going to be surprised at how fast this goes by. I know a lot of you guys who are kind of doing the challenge for the first time are making new changes, and there's a lot of new stuff going on. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Don't get intimidated by it. I hope that your workouts are going well, and I hope you're enjoying the process. But don't let it overwhelm you, and don't let it take away from the fun. But basically got another 5 weeks left, and as I just said, you're going to be surprised at how quickly. I'm just going to turn off the washer here, so it doesn't turn on. You're going to be surprised at how quickly that it flies by, and it goes by pretty quick. As I kind of talked about last night, I'm just finishing up a diet break with when the guys were here, and of course Lisa was here. Um, and my body's responding really well. The diet's been bang on, and I don't feel hungry. I'm drinking lots of water, lots of strength. I did the uh, I did the circuit workout this morning, which absolutely obliterated me. And then I just got back probably about an hour ago from 3 hours of jujitsu, which is it's a really incredible calorie burn. I was actually suiting up to do a tournament when James and Lisa were here, but I just kind of knew that if I went and competed in San Jose, that I wouldn't get the tournament launch. So just the timing wasn't great, which is fine because there's another national tournament coming up, I believe in July, that I'm going to start training for. So needless to say, every once in a while you got to take that break. You know, the next 5 weeks are going to be pretty intense, right? We're going to stick to our diets, and we're going to pound, and we're going to grind. And in 6 weeks, you can make some really, really impressive changes with your body. But I do recommend that when the 6 weeks are up, you guys take a few days for yourself, and you go out with your friends, you go out with your girlfriend or whoever it might be, and you just go out and enjoy. You know, 3 days, you don't want to eat McDonald's for every meal, but taking a few days to just enjoy food and a little bit of a break from exercise, whether that's 3 days to a week, can be really, really beneficial. And I'm reaping some of the rewards right now because my body, it just lets your body know, hey, it's cool. You know, I'm not going to starve you. You add a bunch more calories, which kind of kickstarts your metabolism. I'm going to talk a little bit about cheat meals. I'm going to get a little bit in depth. And once again, this is one of those talks that I've had with the guys who are doing the Savage and 6 right now a few times. But I think it's pretty interesting information for somebody who's doing it for the first time who might not know this. Tomorrow is going to be your cheat meal. So tomorrow I expect that you're going to be good throughout the day. And then for dinner, you're going to let your freak flag fly a little bit, and hopefully you take down some good food and just enjoy a nice meal after the full week of really going hard. I know I'm going to. I'm looking forward to that. And I'll post my cheat meal, whatever that might be, inside the group. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about cheat meals. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about insulin. And I want to talk to you about how to pad your cheat meal from becoming like a cheat day or a cheat week. And in order to do that, we need to understand how the body works and how insulin works. Because you know when you go to like sometimes it's like Chinese food, something super carby, super fat, and then you eat a bunch of it, and then like half an hour later you're hungry. Like that's a real thing. That's an actual thing. And I'll break down in kind of simplistic terms how exactly that happens and why that happens. And I'm going to touch briefly on food addiction as well. So you guys are going to let let the belt out a little bit and go and enjoy because you kicked ass all week tomorrow. And there's a couple of things that you can do to pad that from turning into a full cheat day and turning into a massive cycle. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to start out with a really, really basic version of kind of how insulin works, how food works, why we crave fats, why we crave carbohydrates. Those food cravings and everything that's built into you is an evolutionary response to us living in scarcity. And by living in scarcity, I mean back when we were kind of cavemen and figuring things out and trying to make our way in the world long before cars, probably long before a lot of things. You know, those were signals that were given to us by the body to tell us like, you are hungry, you need to eat this. And in that world, it wasn't it wasn't feasible just to kick back, hey, I'm going to go to McDonald's and I'm going to grab a Big Mac. It just didn't happen like that because there were no McDonald's and there were no Big Mac, and people wore loincloths, and things were a lot simpler. But anyway, back then, it was absolutely necessary for our body to crave things like fat and salt and sugar or whatever else, because it was an indicator that, okay, it was time to go out and hunt, it was time to go out and gather, it was time to go out and forage. And we still have those evolutionary instincts today. When you ingest a bunch of fatty foods or a bunch of really high carb foods, a few different things in your system happen. With the high carb foods in particular, your insulin, because typically speaking, we're talking about simple carbohydrates, right? So you go out and you take down a hamburger or a cheeseburger or whatever it might be, and a bunch of fries, and those simple carbohydrates come rushing into your body, and your body excretes insulin, right? I talked about how simple carbohydrates are the precursor for insulin, right? They break down to glucose quickly, your insulin levels spike, and it tells the body to start storing that energy as glycogen and then eventually fat. So that being said, it's kind of how food addiction starts. There's also a psychological aspect to when we eat those foods. And a lot of people are emotional eaters. I'm going to level with you guys, and I'm going to let you know that I am too. And it's interesting because you wouldn't expect, you wouldn't expect somebody like me to be an emotional eater, but oftentimes when I'm in a really, if I'm just having a bad day or a bad week or something dramatic has happened, I find solace in food. And a lot of people do, I think. And the reason for that is it just boils down to simple neurochemistry and these evolutionary signals that are built into our body. So when you consume a bunch of high carbs or high fats, another thing happens aside from that insulin release. Your body starts to release dopamine rather. And dopamine is the same thing as the pleasure hormone. So your body starts your insulin spikes, and your body starts to emit these feel-good hormones that make you feel good, and you get this emotional high, and it tells your body that everything's okay, and your dopamine receptors are shooting serotonin out, and all sorts of great chemicals that's just making you feel really good, and your insulin is rushing, because things are breaking down to glucose, and your body's just snatching them all because the insulin gates are open, you're snatching up all this simple glucose. And then you get to this point, boom, your insulin's up here and you stop eating. And of course, simple laws of the universe, or at least the laws of the body in this case, say that what goes up must come down. So that insulin rushes up, boom, you're feeling really good, you're on an emotional high, your body's storing insulin and glucose as glycogen, which will eventually turn to fat, and then we stop eating. And of course, anything that goes up really high, really quickly, comes down really high, really quickly. And when that insulin level starts to drop, a few different things happen. Our body stops secreting these dopamine hormones like serotonin and dopamine, and we lose that feeling of that feel-good feeling, right? Which is why a lot of people get emotionally addicted to food. It's a real thing. So we start not feeling as good, and not only that, but as soon as our sorry, I'm exhausted. Throwing around at jiu-jitsu. As soon as our insulin levels drop, they go down. They tend to come up. They go down a little lower than they are at baseline. And as soon as that happens, I talked about ghrelin the other day, which is the hunger hormone. Ghrelin gets activated and starts to tell your body you're hungry. So instantly, you're not, you don't have that feel-good feeling. Those things start to go away. Your body's ghrelin comes out, and it's also, of course, the hormone that tells your body to start getting rid of fat, start burning fat. So ghrelin comes out, and now you're hungry, which is why a lot of people will turn kind of a cheat meal into a cheat day, into a cheat week, and that's why people try to find solace in food when they're having a bad day. They want those the feel-good foods, or the home-cooked kind of junky foods, because essentially food makes you feel good, and it makes you feel good because back when we were primitive people, you needed those things to tell you that you were hungry, and you needed those feel good hormones, to be able to get an adequate amount of fats in a world of scarcity. So those things are no longer valid. Today we can walk out, we can grab a cheeseburger next door, or we can head over to McDonald's and you can grab an ice cream for like 99 cents. So in recognizing that, it makes it a little bit easier to deal with the hunger spikes. When you really break it down, at least for me, when I really start to break things down in my head and I understand where everything's coming from and why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling and why I react the way to certain things, it just makes it a little bit more manageable for me. So tomorrow when you guys go out, and I do encourage you, if you've been good all week, even if you haven't been good all week and you've had some troubles, go out and just enjoy a good meal, enjoy a feel-good meal. There's a few things that I would do in order to pad yourself from massive dopamine release and massive insulin spike, which leads to ghrelin. Number one, I would make sure that that day, if any day, your water consumption is on point. You want to make sure that your body is not mistaking those hunger signals for thirst, because a lot of the time when you're thirsty, your body actually receives it as a hunger signal. So you want to make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. I also do recommend that before you go out for your cheat meal, you have kind of a pre-cheat meal. I know that sounds crazy, but depending on what your appetite's like, just a few carbs and a serving of protein, literally half an hour before you go out to your meal is going to make sure that your stomach's already got some food in there, because our body doesn't actually give us that on full signal until about 10 minutes after it's full. Our body's a little bit late to the game. So if you already kind of put some food in your stomach, you're going to go out and you're not going to be as hungry as you might be normally if you just didn't eat for 3 hours before you go out. So your water consumption on point. Make sure that you have, I know it sounds crazy, but you have a little pre-cheat meal just to get some nice fiber into your body, get yourself full so that we're not consuming a ton of stuff. We're going to eat our cheat meal, maybe we're going to have a couple of drinks, and we're going to have a dessert. As I kind of mentioned before, guys, with this kind of a thing, I want to make sure that you recognize that this is anything that you put into your body in a caloric range, is something that you're going to have to deal with later. Calories in, not necessarily calories out, because a lot of it has to do with hormones, but calories in still have to be burned. So if you go out and you eat 6 pizzas and you just destroy yourself, you got a lot of work to do tomorrow. I don't think that you should not enjoy, and I don't think that you should limit yourself, but you don't want to be too excessive. You want to go out, you want to have your meal, make sure you're drinking water throughout your meal as well, and just make sure that you're plenty hydrated when you're going into it. And then after your meal, know that there's a good chance, because you've been eating clean. Hey, burrito, calm down, bud. Know that there's a good chance, because you've been eating clean all week, that your body is going to take that and it's going to, your insulin's going to drop and your ghrelin's going to go up. So just know that that's coming. Make sure that you have a nice big glass of water as soon as you're done your meal as well. So those are just kind of a few little things. If after your meal you've still got that craving, I recommend maybe you go out and you grab some Jello, some sugar-free Jello, or maybe you just take down a few veggies. You really want to make sure that you put yourself into a state where you're full, but you want to make sure you're hydrated, and you want to make sure that you're eating the proper foods as well. Because if you eat 5,000 calories, there's a good chance that the next week you're going to have a heck of a time working that off, as opposed to if you eat 750 calories or you eat 1,000 calories in excess. I've kind of built that into your meal plans on the assumption that you're eating anywhere from 750 to 1250 calories. Then your body's going to thank you for it. You're going to have more energy, and you're going to be ready to go, and you're still going to make a really, really good amount of progress the next week. I also wanted to mention to you guys as well, I did make a post in here about what exactly you have to do for your check-ins. That's for anybody with Savagen 6 regular. If you're in Savagen 6 light and you just want to reach out and say, hey, Matt, this is going well, that's not going well, do you have any suggestions for this? I'm open to that. I want to make sure that you guys are enjoying your experience, and I don't want to completely cut you out just because you don't have check-ins. You still have me as a resource, so just maybe send me a little message, saying, hey, this is going well, this is not going well, because I do legitimately care. And I want to make sure that you have a good time, so you tell all your friends, and then hopefully you come back for another challenge. So tomorrow morning for your check-ins, preferably you wake up out of the morning in an ideal situation. The reason why I think it's a good idea to do it at the same time every day is because typically speaking, in the morning time, you are less hydrated than you would be at the nighttime. So if you're taking a sample of where your body's at in the morning versus where it is at night after you've eaten a ton of food, and you're probably a lot more bloated, and you've probably got a lot more water in your system, then we're going to have issues. I do also recommend that you take your measurements before your cheat meal. And the reason why I recommend that is because it's the most accurate way to get a gauge. For every gram of carbohydrates that we consume, we actually hold 3 grams of water. So there's a good chance that after your cheat day, you're going to put some weight back on the scale, and the sodium and the carbohydrates are just going to be latching onto water. As long as you keep going with your regular diet, it's going to be a non-issue, and that water should leave within a day or two. So just some things to consider. Make sure that you fill out that measurement sheet that I posted, just the new one specifically for tomorrow, and make sure that you do the survey, and make sure that you update your pictures in the app as well. And all you have to do to update those is just go in there and go underneath the progress tab. You're going to see a place where you can leave your pictures, and then just send me a little email saying, hey Matt, I'm done my check-in. And it usually takes us anywhere from 24 to a maximum of 48 hours, depending on the volume, to get you guys your check-ins back. Just a little warning too, what I'm doing with you guys, because you're a smaller group, is not the same thing that Senya's going to be doing. I'm piloting some new things. I'm going to be doing a video check-in for all of you guys. So I'm going to basically have your stats in front of me, and I'm going to kind of talk about what you're doing, what I recommend, and I'm going to answer some of your questions in the video as well. I'm going to upload them into a site, and I'm just going to send you an email where you can download that video. It's just a little bit more of a personalization. It saves me a little bit of time, because literally sitting there typing, 25 check-ins plus my regular client check-ins plus takes a ton of time, and it's also a little bit more personalized, and we kind of get to build a relationship together, and hopefully that'll make you more comfortable with reaching out to me in the meantime. So a lot to come up, guys. I hope everybody had an awesome first week. I know I did. I'm going to be posting some exercises as well next week. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm proud of you, and let's kick the crap out of the next 5 weeks, guys. Even though it gets easier as you go, and if you're having any issues, don't hesitate to reach out to me. The last thing I'm going to say is, with your check-ins, guys, just be honest with me, right? I'm not gonna spank you. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I'm your trainer. But if you're not giving me complete 100% transparency with what's going on, then I'm going to make suggestions that aren't going to be in line with what's best for you, because I'm assuming that other things are at play. So I'm not going to give you crap. I'm not going to give you a hard time. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to kind of hear you, get some feedback from you, and then we can adapt and create new things, or make changes that are going to make this challenge easier for you. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I hope everybody's doing really well. We'll see you guys soon. Tomorrow is your check-in day. Tomorrow is your cheat day. Please get them to me. The earlier, the better. And I'll start getting back to you. You guys have an awesome night. Take care. We'll see you guys soon.